what's up, everybody? It's Ringside Report MMA. Tonight on the show, we are previewing UFC Vegas 64. Amanda Lemos versus Marina Rodriguez. Jake Paul disappointed in his pay-per-view buy rate with Anderson Silva. And what's next for Georges St-Pierre, who's now a free agent?
Let's go!
Yeah, let's go. I'm also going to tell AJ why The Watcher was terrible. AJ recommended that I watch that show on Netflix, and I did watch it, and I was very disappointed in how it all wrapped up, or didn't wrap up whatsoever.
Well, yeah, the ending was like, look, I'll
terrible
give you that much.
ending.
The ending was like one of those like, oh, but it was good.
What do you mean it was one of those like, oh? What does that mean?
You don't know. It could go either left or right. Like, what really happened to this guy? Did he lose it and he's, like, going to be watching the house like everybody else that was watching him and the prior people? Does his wife know that he's completely nuts? Or is she part of it? Like, you know, is she gone off the edge too? Because she drove up behind him at the end scene and I wasn't sure if she was following the husband.
Spoiling the show right there, AJ. Giving us a spoil. But I'm fine with that. If you haven't seen it, I mean, just skip.
No. You got to watch it from the beginning, man. It's come on, Dave. You know what? I enjoyed it.
It was terrible.
I just thought the last part of it made you wonder, like, what the hell is going on? You know what? I'm going to start sending out letters to houses now.
With the staircase? With the ghoul coming from the staircase? What the hell was that?
That guy was pretty weird. You're talking about the guy that was like he was mute, but was able to say boom?
No. At the end. When the real estate lady is there in the house.
Yeah.
Okay, and she's running away, and her dog dies. Right, her dog is dead.
Just like the ferret.
Yes, but there's a guy. The staircase lifts up, and there's a guy that comes out of the staircase in a full black robe. What's that supposed to be? Did you not catch that? What the hell was that?
Listen, man, that could be part of the satanic club that was happening across the street, man. Remember when the guy said that they were drinking blood? The
satanic club that was drinking baby blood.
Man,
led by Mia Farrow and the warden from Oz. That's the guy from Oz, eh?
Is it?
Yeah, he was the warden in Oz. Maybe not the warden, but the guy who ran the Oz area, you know?
Yeah, and the milk was the one from American Pie. Remember the one from American Pie? And then you had the cop that was the guy from Happy Gilmore? You know, Shooter McGavin.
Right. Shooter McGavin was the cop. Yes, like you're right. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I swear, every time I used to see him, I wanted him to do one of these. Get out of my office. There's the door.
It was not a good show.
Out.
Because
I thought it was great, man.
They had all these theories of what was happening, and by the end, nothing tied together. It's like, well, what happened in the show? What was going on with the house? Who was sending the letters? Who was being creepy? Also, they discover tunnels under their house. They see a guy.
Listen,
hold on.
I'm going to tell you something.
No. Hold on a
reality.
second, AJ. They discover tunnels under their house. They find a guy in those tunnels, okay? They find a bedroom in those tunnels. And their only move is to board up where that one tunnel was coming from in the basement. They don't revisit the tunnels. They don't go down there with a few flashlights and a gun. They don't go and check out the tunnels. They just ignore the... If there's creepy things happening to your house and people are showing up in your house and your doors are locked and you discover that there's tunnels and you find a guy in the tunnels and then he disappears, is that it? Are you just going to bail on the tunnels? Be like, well, I guess there's a bunch of tunnels that lead to different places under my house. I guess I'll just leave those alone. No! You go back in the tunnels and you figure out what the hell's going on. But they're like, oh, there's tunnels, but well, let's ignore that and see if somebody else is messing with us. It's like, what kind of stupid people are these people? Terrible. Listen, man, this show was awful. It didn't make any kind of sense. I got to the whole point of shows like this is to give you a finish, to give you some sort of conclusion where at the end you're like, ah, this is what it was. But instead I just got, so what? You know? And then you got that whole historical society led by Mia Farrow, and then the creepy teacher guy, he joins it, and then he sees the guy that killed his whole family, and he's like, hey, I know you. How's your family? You know, is he gonna let that guy who killed his family just kind of keep living in the tunnels?
Well, he's part of the society.
It's ridiculous. What the hell is that society? What is that society really about? Keeping houses old, or is it about drinking blood? Like, what the hell is all that? It was just a bunch of just theories and nonsense and things taken from the news and taken from the internet and trying to be sensational. And what it turned out to be was a giant piece of shit. Garbage show.
Listen, they were trying. No
offense
listen,
to the solid performances by the guy and Naomi Watts.
Shooter McGavin.
No, that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the main guy in the show. What's his name?
He was good, man. He was Italian, by the way, in the show. I was kind of surprised.
He's in a lot of things, that guy. That guy's very good.
Listen, don't mess with the marble. All I can tell you is that, man. He wanted an island. He wanted a butcher block. I kind of agree with him on that. Listen, man. But
Bobby Cannavale. Bobby Cannavale, tremendous. Man. He's very good. Listen, I like him a lot. But and Naomi Watts was good too. But the show sucked.
Listen, man, to each their own. I thought it was fantastic. It was keeping me on the edge of my seat. I mean, you're right. If I found tunnels under my house, I'd be like, I'm telling you, I would booby trap that shit out of that tunnel like there would be no tomorrow. I'd be putting like sticky tape all over the place, thumbtacks. I'd be doing like the whole what's his name there? What's that kid's name? Home Alone kind of thing, 100%. Except that have flamethrowers and maybe pit bulls that haven't eaten for like a couple of days. And I'm telling you, man, when they were going through that tunnel and they got to the place where there was a bedroom and all that kind of stuff, like right off the bat,
you don't go back there. Wouldn't you go back at some point?
I would get my father's shotgun, double barrel shotgun, and be like, okay, motherfucker, you want to play? Come on!
I mean, these people have money and they live in America. You would think they'd be able to get as much firepower and ammunition as they want, go back in the tunnel and be like, hey, say hello to my little friend here. What the hell's going on? Like, it doesn't make any kind of sense.
Listen, you're right, man.
That they would just ignore. There's so much in this show that made no sense where I was just like, this is a piece of crap show. This is garbage.
Listen, man, I liked it. I'm telling you, I agree with you. If I had a house that big, man, I'd be carrying like 2 sidearms all the time, especially if that shit was happening. I wouldn't be waiting for another letter. I would be going to every house and be like, listen, motherfucker, you might not be the person, but if you walk into my house through that tunnel, I'm gonna fuck you up. You see this gun? Am I fucked up? Yes, I'm Italian. I'll use it, buddy. I'll use it. And that's it. And then I can guarantee you no more tunnel problems. But the only thing that surprised me was the detective. The girl that was, I forgot what the hell she was. She was the prior owner of the house, but she forgot to tell them. And then she had cancer.
Did you not understand the show, AJ? She wasn't the prior owner of the house. That's just a story she made up to give them peace of mind.
What? I missed that part. What? I thought she was.
Did you not see when the couple went to her funeral and the daughter told her exactly that?
Yeah, that's right. But again,
the daughter was like, she made it up. She didn't live there. She just said that to make you feel better.
But does that make sense? Maybe the daughter was lying.
And the neighbor, too, was like, no, that woman never lived there.
Do you believe the neighbor that's watching them through binoculars, dude?
Well, no, she's creepy,
honestly, and oiling themselves down. And then they forged or made up that they got murdered and there was a whole scene. That was kind of weird, man. Who just packs up and goes away on vacation when there's a murder scene of 2 bodies in the house and everybody thinks it's them? Man, it was good, man. It was intriguing. I liked it. I just don't.
It was stupid.
Listen, it was based on a true story.
Okay. So when you see based on a true story, do you go and find out? Because what I do is, when I see based on a true story or when I watch a documentary, I go and read what's
true about it,
what the real story is, right?
Yeah. I kind of do that after the fact.
Did you go and read what the real story of this was?
Apparently there was some letter that was sent to the house, and there was.
So the real story was
kind of weirdo watching it.
There was nothing with,
the boo guy,
like some weird guy or a murder or any of that stuff happening in the house, or a satanic cult, or whatever the hell they were trying to sell in this stupid show. See, this type of show makes people who believe in satanic cults where they drink baby's blood, because there are those people out there, and you are one of those people, AJ. You're a crackpot. See, the people that believe that stuff watch shows like this and go, see, they're talking about it. They must be real. You're fucked, man. It doesn't happen.
Right. Listen, I'm going to tell you something.
It doesn't happen.
Listen,
it's an Alex Jones nonsense bullshit.
Hey,
this is one of the problems with the internet and with culture today. You have complete rubes.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something, Dave.
AJ's a mark for this stuff. This is why you liked it, because you're like, oh, see, this really happens. You know what the true story of the show was? You know how it says based on a true story? You know what the true story is? There was a couple. They bought a house. They got some creepy letters. They didn't like how the letters sounded. They were a little threatening. They sold the house, and that was it.
That sounds like a story. I agree with you. It sounds like a typical divorce case. But I'm going to tell you something.
What?
Listen, and shit happens, man. The ex comes in, throws the letters. Yeah. Touche. But I'm going to tell you something, Dave. On a serious note, this is no joke. I'm not going to tell you where it was or you know, I'll just say that it's somewhere on the island of Montreal. But I was in a house way, way, way back when I was, I don't want to say what I was doing. But anyways, listen to this, dude. We were watching a house. Isn't it funny? Watch along. I was watching a house with a friend of mine, and we kind of roamed around. And the thing is that we did discover a tunnel that led from one house. I swear to God, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to be like, you know, someone drinking my blood there, bud. You know, Interview with the Vampire kind of shit. But there was a tunnel that wasn't 10 feet long, dude. It was literally half a street long that went into someone else's house. So I did inquire about it, and I'm like, what the fuck? And the tunnel was exactly what you saw in that movie. It was exactly that type of tunnel. No word, no bullshit, man. You know, AJ, when he says he's friends with Harvey Keitel, but I'm going to tell you something.
Did exist between houses, like they explained in the show, which is historically accurate. Tunnels between houses sometimes existed to run illegal goods like booze during Prohibition and stuff like that.
Wow.
Sure. Okay, tunnels exist.
Yeah, they were there, and you're absolutely right. In fact, that's exactly what it was used for. It was used for like smuggling like booze.
But what does that have to do with drinking blood and shit? Like it's not what was going on, man. AJ. It's just tunnels are there. Ooh.
Listen, listen. Maybe that's what they needed the house. Maybe the house was the church. You get it? The symbolism was the house was the church of satanic worshiping in the days of Halloween. Actually, today is All Souls Day. Is it? No, it was yesterday.
The sad part is you actually believe some of that stuff.
Damn right, man. You're Italian. What do you think we have the horn for no reason? You don't think so? Come to Italy, my friend. That shit exists. No word of a lie, man.
People believe in it, but it's not real. Magic, voodoo, ghosts, and shit. And like, come on.
Yeah, you say that
blood
to my
rituals.
My friends hate me. They'll be like, Dave Simon, don't.
Like, come on, man. That stuff is so ridiculous. I believe none of it.
I'm on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, you're on the.
I'm just telling you.
You're on another fence.
I'm just telling you, Dave. Like, just telling you. But all to say is, I thought it was a great show. I loved it. Just at the end, I was just a little bit. I thought there was going to be a little bit more of a dramatic ending. But all to say is that I think everybody just became crazy. That's what the bottom line is, including the viewers who watched that damn show.
Yeah, it was a bad show.
Listen, I give it an 8 out of 10. Listen, and you know what I like about this?
I'm gonna give it a 4. I mean, it kept me watching. It kept me watching, but I didn't love it.
Well, man, but it kept you watching. That was the whole thing. Get it? You watched along. Listen, I'm gonna tell you one thing. What I like about this segment right here that we're doing, it kind of reminds me of you and Johnny North when you were doing what was it, 60 Shades of Grey? What the hell was that?
Movie reviews and stuff like that. Well, it's a slow week in the UFC, AJ, so I'm giving you something else on the show here tonight. But let me tell you, I like Naomi Watts in the show, if you know what I mean. She was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was something, man.
My God.
Even what's her name? The MILF from American Pie. She looked great, man.
You know, she played the masseuse in Seinfeld, Jerry's girlfriend, the masseuse. It's
What?
the same woman. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
she was in Seinfeld.
She looks fantastic.
She was in White Lotus, too. I think there's a new White Lotus, and I think she's in it, too. I know there's a new White Lotus, but I believe she's in it. I haven't seen the new season, which I will watch. See, White Lotus, that was a good show. I would recommend that, AJ. You didn't see that, right?
No, I was thinking of something else. Like, I didn't think it was like, I thought it was X-rated, dude. When you said White Lotus, I was thinking of something else. Just saying. Just saying, bud.
I watched another Netflix thing, Vatican Girl. I watched that one, too.
I'm sorry. Don't blow it. I'm watching that now. Let's do the review of Vatican Girl next week. Because that shit's real, man. I can tell you that.
It's a documentary. Yeah, of course it's real.
Yeah. But I'm saying is the whole thing leading up to it is like freaking me out.
Spoiler alert.
As a
look to
Roman
the
Catholic
Vatican.
Italian,
Look to the Vatican and, some priests and cardinal guys. Look to those guys.
Who knows? Maybe there's blood drinking over there, man.
Maybe
there's blood drinking over there, bud. Maybe there's a tie-in with all this shit. Watch along, Jeffrey Dahmer.
So I watched that.
Girl.
I finished watching Vatican Girl on Netflix, and there was a point. There was a point where I was watching it this morning, and I had it on my phone, and I had little earbuds in, and I was walking around, and it's all in Italian. Most of it is in Italian, right, with subtitles. At a certain point, I walked away from my phone, and the guy was still talking. And I understood what he was saying because I've watched so much. Yeah, I mean, I've watched so much Italian with subtitles now over the past couple of days and that happens because Italian is basically French and Spanish mixed. So, like, a lot of the words sound the same. You could piece it together. I know enough Spanish and enough French that I could get the gist of a lot of Italian. Like, I couldn't speak it back to you, but I could kind of understand a couple of things they were saying. But yeah, there was a point where I kind of walked away from the screen because I forgot that I had to actually watch it to understand what was going on. But I walked away and I understood what the guy was saying. And I was like, wait a second. Do I speak Italian? So I speak Italian now, AJ. So
Bravo. Hey, bene. Listen, well, first of all, before the show started, I was like complimenting you on like, having such a beautiful Italian name for your little girl, Zola. You couldn't ask for better, man. Dave is more Italian than me now.
It's not an Italian name.
Zola's Italian, but don't fool around, bud. Don't fool around. It's not Zulu, it's Zola. Italian.
Yeah. It could be anything. It could be a lot of things. Anyway, shout out to Silent by Deadly dropping a super chat. You're the super chat leader so far. Silent, thank you for the support. Shout out to Angelo Contagonis. Good evening, Angelo, in the chat as well. Angelo, longstanding member of the Ringside Report Network. If you are not a member, join. Join.ringsidereport.net. Join.ringsidereport.net. I promise we talk about fighting and stuff on this channel as well. I just had to get that off my chest because AJ recommended this show, The Watcher, to me. And Netflix kept trying to recommend it to me as well. And then I watched it. And, yeah. That guy, Ryan Murphy, sucks.
Which guy is that?
His shows are garbage. He is the guy who made this show. I think he also made that Jeffrey Dahmer show. He's got like a deal with
another
Netflix.
Great classic.
His shows are awful.
He's good, man. I give him a thumbs up.
That Dahmer show was terrible. It's flimsy, AJ. It's flimsy.
Right here.
It keeps you watching. It keeps you going to the next thing because you're like, what's going to happen next? But then in the end, it leaves you completely unsatisfied. Terrible.
It's kind of like the Blair Witch Project. I was talking with someone today. Did you like the Blair Witch Project, yes or no?
I mean, that was different. That took you on a ride.
But did you like it or not?
Yeah.
Because I talked to two people today.
I liked it at the time. It was scary.
I love the Blair Witch Project. Mm-hmm. You know what they told me? They said it was the worst movie that they've ever seen. In fact, one of them said I was watching it in a theater, and it was so shitty that I walked out. And I'm like, see, man, it's like, apples, oranges, man. It depends. People like one or the other, man. Well, I liked it. I give The Watcher like a thumbs up. I give it an 8 out of 10. I would have given it higher if it was just like a more of a concrete ending. That's it, man. I enjoyed it. And then we'll review The Vatican Girl next week. And I'll give you my take on that. As a good, Catholic boy.
The Watcher on Rotten Tomatoes has a 55% approval
It's Rotten Tomatoes. Don't listen to Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, that's kind of a...
Rotten Tomatoes.
That's one that's, it's pretty.
They're pretty rotten, man.
It's pretty good. Now, like in contrast, a good show like The White Lotus, right? 55% for The Watcher, which was garbage. White Lotus, 89%. See, that's a quality program, and that's because it's user-generated reviews. It's people that are real people watching the show and saying, is this good or is this bad? And the majority of people think, yes, White Lotus is good, but that other show.
I'll watch White Lotus,
Watcher,
and I'll see if it's close
good.
to 89%.
White Lotus is way better. Have you ever seen Succession, AJ? Have you ever seen Succession? That's a television program. I saw the new trailer for the next season of Succession. You know what Succession is on the tomato meter? 94%. Because it's the best TV show out there right now. There's no show better than Succession. There's no show currently in production that is better than Succession. Bar none, by far, it is the best. If you're not watching Succession, you should. It is the best show on TV. It's not really a comedy, but it is kind of a comedy. It's kind of a it's funny. It is very funny.
Listen, man, is it funnier than Seinfeld? Is it funnier than Arrested Development? Is it funnier
I
than
think it is funnier than Arrested Development. Yes.
What?
I don't think it's funnier than Seinfeld, but I do think that Succession, especially, Tom and Greg together, funnier than Arrested Development. And that's saying a lot because Arrested Development is a very good show. But Succession is better.
So just because you said that, I'm going to watch it, and I swear it better be good, Dave, because I'm texting you the minute I get off that episode. You know that.
Well,
that's big words to say it's better than Arrested Development, man. That's,
it's not really a comedy, but there are comedic elements to it. But it's a highbrow comedy, AJ, that you might not get,
Yeah,
you might not get
it. Man. I'll watch it, and I'll be like, this sucks, man.
I'm messing with you.
Whoa, what's this, man?
Angelo Contagonis has been a member of the team for 22 straight months. Thank you, Angelo. And he's got a question for us. He wants to know, how was the wrestling show in Laval this past weekend? Johnny North versus Drew Onyx at the Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling Show.
Well, listen. For Angelo, I don't know if he's on Instagram, but if he wants to see a good part of the fight, the match between Johnny versus Drew Onyx, we have it up. It's somewhere on the archives. You can watch the full fight. If not, we're actually going to post it on Facebook page pretty soon, because it was a fantastic fight. Me and Dave were there, man. It was a good crowd. It was action packed, but I must admit, not to be biased or anything, the fights were they were good. But when it came to Johnny and Drew Onyx, man, it made you realize for me anyways, I'm talking from my end. Dave is completely Dave knows how to break down fights, and he'll tell you it sucks or it's great, and he'll tell you why. I look at it from the entertainment point, and if I was watching WWE, I couldn't see the difference between Johnny and Drew Onyx. It was that high level of entertainment, of showmanship, of action, of the slaps that were being thrown were you could hear the thuds, man. And it was so impressive. And you know what? You look at Johnny, you go onto his Instagram page or whatever, and he was showing you his back after the fight was over. Man, anybody who says wrestling is fake, you know what? Go in the ring with any of these guys, and let's see what's fake. You got Drew Onyx, that's almost 300-something pounds. You got Johnny at about 225, maybe 230. These are big, big boys being thrown around. It was incredible. All to say is the fight was amazing. It was so professional that too bad it wasn't the main event, because it should have been.
The main event was really good too.
It was really good, but they were up there. I mean, both fights were amazing, but if I had to give the edge to where the violence was and couldn't get closer to real than that, was Johnny North versus Drew Onyx. These guys are pros, man. They should be in the AEW or the WWE. I'm telling you, it doesn't make sense.
I think they would fit in really well in either of those companies. Johnny and Drew, always great to see them wrestle each other. They have really good chemistry, and they bring the violence. Johnny was bringing the chops to Drew. Drew was bringing them right back. And you saw Johnny was cut open, from the chops, just from chops. Imagine getting slapped so hard on your bare skin that it
But it
opens
was the
up
thud.
and you start to bleed, you know, and that's kind of typical for the Johnny North and Drew Onyx matches. Every match that I've seen, Johnny's been welted up pretty badly from those heavy Drew Onyx chops, you know, and you want to say, you talk about wrestling being real and all that stuff. There's nothing realer than getting slapped on the chest and showing the real welts. I mean, you can't fake that. It's unfakeable, you know. They're not fake welts. There's no makeup. There's no time for that. You see the guy get slapped, and then you see the cut appears on his back and on his chest. So, yeah, it was definitely a really good, violent, hard-hitting match. What impressed me the most was a couple bumps that John took, the shotgun dropkick bump that he took off the second rope that he then took again. He hit that shotgun dropkick off the second, and then he went for it again on Drew Onyx and missed it, which led to John losing the match, unfortunately. But just the bump looked like really, really impressive. Nobody was taking a bump like that on that show. I didn't really see any kind of big bumps, and John, he brought it. He brought the professionalism. He brought it to a higher level with that type of move. You know, that shotgun drop kick off the second or off the top, however you want to do it. It's a dangerous move. You know, Bryan Danielson got injured in a match with Randy Orton hitting that move. He hit the move. He landed flat on his back, but he got a stinger in his neck, and the match had to be stopped. Like, it's a dangerous move, and John didn't just hit it once. He hit it twice. And the second time he hit it, he missed it. So he just jumped off the second and, you know, missed Drew and shot his legs out and took a flat back bump. So that was really impressive to me to see John take that kind of bump twice. And I'm sure it didn't tickle. You know, I'm sure he felt it the next day, because that's no joke, you know, and those kinds of bumps, like the chops, you know, like, okay, they hurt and they'll welt up and they'll heal, but the bumps off the second rope, you know, off the top rope, those are a little bit more dangerous, and those kind of get me a little bit more nervous when I see John taking them. So I was really impressed with that, and of course very disappointed in Johnny North's manager, who screwed John out of that match. I don't know if you know this, AJ, but Johnny hit his finisher on Drew Onyx. Like, the move that he hit, it's that choke and then into the STO, boom, puts you down.
Yeah.
And once John hits you with that, it's 1, 2, 3, and that's all she wrote. But John's manager, his new manager, who did a good job, but he messed with John in this one here. Like, he was an entertaining guy. He seemed to have a look there. He was all right. He went for a selfie. He wanted to take a selfie with Johnny North and Drew Onyx right after John had hit his finish. Right? So John hits his finish. The manager goes, selfie time. They take a bunch of time posing, and then John goes for the cover. 1, 2, Drew Onyx kicks out. Then John's like, oh, what do I do? He goes to the second rope again, because that's how he led into his finisher. He hit the shotgun drop kick, and then he hit the STO, and then the manager stopped the action. So he's like, well, let's redo that sequence. He goes up for the shotgun drop kick, but Drew Onyx is wise to it this time. Drew gets out of the way. Johnny takes the bump. Drew takes control, and Drew wins the match. So Johnny's manager really interfering in that match and costing Johnny the match, which was disappointing. But that sometimes happens in pro wrestling, right?
Yeah,
So,
but man, he was taking forever.
Yeah, Johnny hit his finish, AJ. I don't know if everybody knew that, but I knew that.
Yeah, it looked like he won. To me,
when I saw John hit that move, I was like, well, that's his finisher. He's about to win. And then the manager's like, hold up. And I'm like, come on, manager. Don't you know that's his finish? End the match, baby. But
it was crazy. It was like some safari hunting thing where the camera guy wants to take the picture of, like, you know, Johnny on like some big like rhinoceros, man, and it was ridiculous. He was taking his time. Johnny should have watched that. I was like filming, but too bad you don't have a clip, Dave. If you go to Instagram, you can see Johnny's welts, and you can see some of the fight. It was fantastic. Find it, man.
Well, go to Johnny's.
Show it up, man. We've got the technology.
Don't tell me what to do.
Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you. I was filming that thing, man, and it was insane. Like, I was so close up front, man. I'm telling you, I was impressed by the shots. You know, those slaps, man, you can hear the thud, and I'm like, damn, I don't know how Johnny's doing that. Because Drew Onyx is one big guy, man. It's insane. Uh-oh, here we go.
There he is. There's Johnny's back right after the match. So see all the welts there on his back. Those are from chops. There you go, AJ. That was for AJ. Show the thing, Dave. Show the.
Listen, you made Angelo happy, man. After 22 months, the least you can do is show Johnny's broken back there. But
Angelo didn't ask for that. He asked, "How was the wrestling show?" And now you're
but that's part of it, man.
I don't know.
I would have liked to see the full video, but hey, listen, man. I'm not manning the controls there. But all to say is, I hope Johnny gets another shot because he deserved that win. You know that he deserves the title. And, I hope he gets it. He was the former champion at one point. The heavyweight champion, the British Commonwealth champion was Johnny North. I was there to see it, man. I held the belt. Really nice belt. But Drew Onyx, once again, screws him out of the championship.
How exactly am I supposed to show this great video you took, AJ?
It's on the side there.
How am I supposed to show this?
Tilt, man. Lie down on the ground, man, and watch it.
Uh-huh. Well, if you feel like
Can you
tilting...
put up the volume?
No. If you feel like tilting, it's a sideways video. Apparently, you don't know how to do anything. I don't know how we managed this even. I don't know what happened. Look, if you want to watch the match, you can go to the Ringside Report Instagram page, and the match is there. So go there and watch it. We can't show it to you sideways, but if you want to watch the match and tilt your phone or tablet or whatever sideways, you can watch the match. Good job, AJ. What the fuck?
Listen, man, it wasn't like that. I don't know how the hell it happened, man.
It was, though. It was like that the whole time.
Is that on Johnny's or is it on Ringside?
No, that's Ringside Report Instagram, like I just said.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll fix that.
Whoops.
We'll fix that. It's okay, man. It'll be fixed. All to say is watch it. Just lie down and watch it.
So speaking of last weekend, Jake Paul, Anderson Silva.
Who called it, bud? Who called it? You know what? If you
during
listen
the fight,
to AJ,
you didn't call it. During the fight, you're like, what?
No. Listen, look.
Fred
I gotta
called it actually during the fight. He's like, scores actually,
Well, listen, man.
You thought Anderson won.
Listen, if we had to look at each round, the first round, Jake Paul wanted, and then the follow-up rounds, there was enough from Anderson Silva to light up Jake Paul a few times where he won, in our opinion, more rounds than Jake at that point. But then it all comes down to what I said.
But I just want to preface my thoughts on the fight with,
sure,
I'm not a boxer. I've never been a boxer. I've never claimed to be a boxing expert or analyst. I am an MMA analyst, an MMA expert. I am a grappler. I'm a submission grappler. I'm a jiu-jitsu player. I know about the ground game. I know about some Muay Thai. I've done some Muay Thai, but I'm not like a great kickboxer, and I'm no expert in the point system of boxing. That said, I thought Anderson Silva was winning that fight, but it seems like I don't know anything about boxing. That's what I was thinking. Like, I was watching the fight, and I was like, I think Anderson's winning. But also, I'm quite biased towards Anderson, so I don't know. But most people seem to have scored it for Jake Paul and seem to say that Anderson just didn't do enough. But for some reason, when we were watching the fight, we all thought Anderson was winning, which was weird.
Listen,
I was confused.
Prior to this fight, I said it. I said that Jake Paul, being 25 years old, Anderson Silva walking in at 47 years old, is not the Anderson Silva that we all grew to love. Not the legend that we saw. If it was Anderson Silva at 30 years old, it would have been a different story right now. But you have a 47-year-old Anderson Silva who came in and peppered Jake Paul with beautiful combinations, man. There was a certain point in the fight where you would it was a clinic that was going on. But what I'm impressed is, even though he got lit up a few times, Jake Paul was able to sustain all the punches that Anderson Silva threw at him. That's the thing that impressed me the most. People could say what they want about Jake Paul, but Jake Paul was able to take a punishment in several rounds that were enough to win the fight, in my opinion, even though the scorecard read it differently. When it came to the 8th round, was what I said from the Thursday before show. I said Jake Paul has that right. If he connects, okay, on a counter, he will drop Anderson Silva. Everybody doesn't realize how good this guy is, and he dropped. And the minute that Anderson Silva dropped in the 8th, I knew it was over. Jake Paul won this hands down. He was winning on the scorecards according to the judges, but in my opinion, it was enough to like say Jake Paul won this. And you know what? Jake Paul's a legitimate guy. You can say all you want. I know Anthony Smith is like calling him shit and all this kind of stuff, but the bottom line is this: is that Jake Paul was able to take a certain parts of that fight, the punishment by Anderson Silva, and that's what impressed me the most. He wasn't able to go down. He didn't like take any one knees or any of that. He continued to fight. He was battered up. It wasn't fake. Some people saying, "Oh, it looks like the punch wasn't really there." Let me tell you, bud. Ask that to Tyron Woodley that's still feeling that punch, and it's Christmas coming again. He dropped like a Christmas tree at Christmas. Jake Paul is real. He's 6-0. He's beat big names, but we're gonna see that in the next fight. He's gonna have to fight someone who is not over 40 years old, who's still within his 30s or 20s. That's able to sustain like a Jake Paul kind of like clinic, because Jake Paul, like I said, has the money to buy anything he wants. He has all the money to buy the best coaches, the best nutritionists, the best trainers, the best equipment. He has a beautiful facility. The kid takes it serious. He is training like hours upon hours a day, where sometimes it takes guys like 10 years to get to a certain level. This guy is doing it in 2 years because he has that full-time opportunity to get the best of the best. You could be kids here in Montreal that I know that are great boxers, but they're not able to go to like some gyms in Philly or some gyms in New York or out west to train with some of the best in the game. They just don't have the means. So they're really good at where they are. But if
most
they have
people
the opportunity
that I know that train martial arts also have to work a job, right? Which takes time away from your training.
100%. Can I say one thing, Dave?
There's that, and it slows you down. It makes you tired. Like if you have to fit the training between the job to support your,
it's impossible.
Your training.
Can I say one thing, actually, on that note, which is a good point, is that most people don't have the opportunity to be paid to train. I'll give you an example. Georges St-Pierre. We're talking about George. He's out of his contract. He was actually at the fight of Jake Paul and Anderson Silva as a commentator. Georges St-Pierre is a great example. This guy was a garbage man. He was grabbing garbage, and if he was still a garbage man trying to go through his training, he would not be Georges St-Pierre of today. Georges St-Pierre had the opportunity to get into the gym and get the training that he needed without having to work. Yeah, he was working at a nightclub as a bouncer at one point, as a doorman. But when Georges St-Pierre was getting up and people believed in him, they took the time to make sure that this guy didn't have to work. And that's what George did. He put on all the hours as a full-time job plus, and he became who he is today, Georges St-Pierre, the legend. That's the difference. Jake Paul has that edge, man. He's got the money. And I'm going to tell you a couple of quick stats, Dave. When I look at some of the money that this kid is getting, I looked at the Forbes of 2021. This kid made $45 million on the Forbes list. Back in 2017, he was in 2017, not that long ago, he was the highest paid YouTuber. He made $11.5 million on YouTube. Hopefully Ringside Report makes something like that, but just think about it. So when you're making that amount of cash, okay, it's incredible. But not only does he have that amount of cash, he has continuous amount of cash. Where guys like Anderson Silva needed this fight to make a big score because he doesn't have the visibility like a Jake Paul. And you look at Jake Paul, just quickly, you look at his Instagram. The guy has 21 million followers. On Twitter, he has 4.4 million followers. On Facebook, 5.7 million followers. On TikTok is crazy. 16.8 million followers, and he has over 308 million likes. And then you end it with YouTube today. He has over 20 million subscribers, and he has over 7.2 billion views. When you put all those numbers together, if Jake Paul lost the fight to Anderson Silva or to Tyron Woodley or to whoever, he still has a following that not even Georges St-Pierre, Anderson Silva, the Diaz brothers put together have. And that's the thing with Jake Paul. His stock went so up now with the Anderson Silva fight. even if the numbers weren't as good as we thought it would be.
Yeah,
and we
Jake
even saw
Paul
that on our
was
watch-along.
disappointed with the pay-per-view buys. He said it did not do anywhere near, and he said he's never fighting in the fall again. He's only going to fight in the summer when there's nothing to do.
That makes sense. And I'm going to tell you something. Even though he didn't do as great as he expected, the guy was still able to walk away. Listen to this. He was guaranteed $1.5 million for this fight with a 65% pay-per-view split. Anderson Silva, who made more money in this fight than he did in his UFC fights, walked away guaranteed with $500,000.
That's
but listen
not
to this. But
necessarily true that he made more money in this fight than in his UFC fight.
Listen, you know
that's
what?
just part of the promotion of this fight.
Yes,
I don't think that's true. I don't believe that.
He still got a 35% pay-per-view split. And right now what it's showing is that with the pay-per-view bonuses, even though this fight wasn't as great as Tyron Woodley, he still walked away, Jake Paul, with $6.5 million and Silva close to $2 million off this fight. That's what I'm trying to say is in this fight, he got more money than he would have in the UFC because of that 35% pay-per-view split. And if they would have got more numbers, it would have been...
First of all, bullshit.
No, it's not bullshit, bud. It is what it is, man.
Where are you getting these numbers from?
Listen, man, I had to make sure.
I'll tell you why it's bullshit in a second, AJ. I just want to know where you're getting your info from. One of your sources? I'll tell you why you're bullshit in a second, all right? Are you ready? Are you ready why your numbers are bullshit?
They're not bullshit. They're accurate, man. And I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
But it's okay. Tell me.
No, I'll explain it to you. It's a mathematical equation. So, Jake Paul, you said, got 65% of the pay-per-view, right?
He was supposed to get 75%, actually. That was his thing. He was supposed to get 75% from the pay-per-view.
And Anderson Silva got 25% or 35%?
No, right now,
Which one is it?
Listen,
Which one is it? Because you just told me that they're making the most money they've ever made in their and Jake Paul made 65% of the pay-per-view and Anderson Silva made 35%, right? Which adds up to, if you're doing the math and following at home, 100% of the pay-per-view cut. This was a Showtime pay-per-view. You think they're getting no cut of the fucking thing? What are you talking about?
Listen, man.
Ridiculous.
Bullshit. They made money off. They made the money off the attendance. And that's what the difference is.
Showtime
the concessions
didn't make money off the attendance. They got a pay-per-view cut. Bullshit.
Listen, man. That's what the stats are showing, man. So listen, bud, you can say what you want.
From where? From where? Where did you get that number from? Where did you get the number from? AJ's lying to us again.
I'm not lying, man.
Listen,
you can say what you want. Bottom line
if you can't quote a source, you're lying, of course. I think Johnny Cochran said that. Patrick C. Hamilton drops a super chat.
You gotta quit.
Patrick C. Hamilton drops a lucky 777. He says, Jake Paul was paying for this fight. If it was by decision, he wins. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah, I agree, Patrick.
I thought he was going to go to honestly, I thought he was going to go to a draw.
Patrick is the new super chat leader, by the way. Thank you, Patrick, out in Regina, Saskatchewan, longstanding member of the team.
Hope you listen to me. Pat,
I hope he listens to me because I can do basic math and I understand basic business. Just basic.
Don't get mad because Anderson Silva lost. I thought he was going to win the fight based on something else.
I'm mad because you don't understand that if Anderson Silva and Jake Paul are taking 100% of the pay-per-view, that leaves Showtime, who's putting on this pay-per-view, who's paying everybody and all the broadcasters and everything. Showtime is paying for this thing. You're telling me they're getting no profit? That's not a business. Something. That doesn't work. No one does that.
Listen,
it's ridiculous.
Listen, off the pay-per-view split, and I don't know what the percentage off of that is, but
so Showtime gets 0% of the pay-per-view.
No, I'm not. Showtime is getting something. That's what you told me. They're getting the attendance. They're getting the concession. They're going to get something out of
attendance and concessions.
Listen,
no cut of the pay-per-view.
Did you see the crowd that was in there? Come on, Dave. Listen, man, it depends. Listen, this is what I saw right now, and this is.
AJ, where did you see it?
Listen, Dave.
Where did you?
Listen, man.
Just tell me where, so I can read it and verify.
You can see it on all sources, man.
All sources. I think you have. I didn't see it anywhere. I think you have reading comprehension issues.
Yeah, right.
No, I am doing. I do tons of research for this show, and I would even say that I'm better research for this show than you are, and I didn't see any of that nonsense that you're spewing. And that's because you get your sources. You get your sources from the same people that are telling you that there are groups of elites eating babies and shit. That's where you get your sources from, the fucking nonsense from the dumb part of the internet that you're believing for some reason because it's written down.
Listen, Dave Simon,
if
you were Italian, you would believe that shit. Let me tell you. Just saying.
AJ is the guy that will buy the National Enquirer and come to you and be like, look at this. See Bigfoot right here, bro. Right here.
What are you see it? Look, Bigfoot do
look at the picture. Look, there's Bigfoot. You believe in Bigfoot?
Damn right I do. Have you ever traveled out west, man, through the woods of like Canada? I have, man. Coast to coast. Let me tell you.
And you saw a Bigfoot? You saw a Yeti?
I saw a lot of like
bears, maybe?
A lot of buffalo
caribou?
And a lot of wolves. I saw like everything.
It's not a Bigfoot.
Saying, man, I heard some strange sounds at one point. I'm just saying, AJ.
Yeah, because noted woodsman AJ DeLessio, who grew up in Montreal, below the tracks, as he always says, grew up in Montreal below the tracks. He's gonna recognize all the sounds in the woods. He's gonna know what all the sounds mean. And if he doesn't recognize a sound, well, that must be Bigfoot then. Of course.
Listen, if I don't hear like, hey, motherfucker, it's me.
What is actually going on in your head? What is happening?
Listen, dude. Listen, man. You can believe or not believe.
How
I'm
does
on the other
Lucy
side,
deal
man.
with you? My God, 24/7 of this.
I'm just telling you, man. It's a possibility, man.
That's
all I'm saying.
It's not a possibility.
Have you ever seen? It
would have been discovered already. If it's so big, you're telling me a gigantic animal that's roaming around has not been discovered? Really?
Let me give you an example. You put a lot of hair on Bigfoot Silva. If he had some like hair condition, and you would think that guy's a Bigfoot.
No, you wouldn't. You would think that's a hairy human.
I don't know, man. If he came out of the woods, my friend, you'd be like hightailing it the other way, guaranteed. I'm just saying. Jiu-jitsu or no jiu-jitsu, I'd be like, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Well, he's a black belt, so I'd be screwed anyways. He's gigantic and a black belt.
Anyways, all to say is this, Dave. Let's get back to the Jake Paul thing. All I can say is this, because AJ was right. We're going to watch another
okay, because you want to say that you're right about something with Bigfoot?
Yeah. So AJ said that we're going to do another pay-per-view, and we're going to end up seeing another pay-per-view, and I think the next one's going to be a blockbuster. I think he's right about doing it in the summer. In the fall, man, there's too many things going on. You've got the World Series going on. You have hockey back. You know, there's too much going on. Football, you need to bring it in the summer, in that lull. You know, where WWE does really well with SummerSlam and all the rest of the shit, you need to bring in a Jake Paul fight
all year round.
Midsummer. They do, but in the summer, the SummerSlam and all that, there's a reason for that.
Summer is actually a dead period for them, but go on.
But they still
bring in with your vast knowledge of professional wrestling.
Listen,
it's actually dead in the summer.
Yeah, but they have SummerSlam for a reason, but
it's at the end of the summer.
It's still summer, motherfucker. But I'm going to tell you something. Jake Paul is right about that.
And WrestleMania is really the big one.
Yeah, for sure.
It's in late March, early April. It's completely.
Yeah, but it's still like, it's the beginning.
Royal Rumble, too, I'd say, is even bigger.
All I can say is this, Dave.
Royal Rumble's bigger. That's in January.
Yeah, but
January to April is the hot season, just in case you wanted to know, but that's okay.
All right.
Huh?
I was going to say, all I'm going to say is this. He needs to fight. He needs to fight.
You're killing me tonight.
Another big name that is not over 40 years old.
It'll be Nate Diaz.
There you go.
If they can get him to sign a contract. And if they can't, why not Georges St-Pierre?
Come on. I'm telling you, Dave, it's not going to be a good day for George, man. I love George.
It's not going to be a good day for Nate Diaz either.
Listen, I have more confidence in Nate, in his boxing capabilities,
He'll lose.
And his capability to take a beating and be able to take a shot from Jake Paul.
He'll get dropped
than anybody else. I agree with you. He's probably going to get dropped by Jake Paul because I have so much I can't listen. You gotta look at what's
Look, if this guy could
beat these guys,
at least, even if I don't think he beat him. Right? I don't think Jake Paul necessarily beat Anderson Silva, but he dropped him, and he hung in there with him, and he won some rounds. It was close, and I think, most people think it wasn't close, and Jake Paul just completely steamrolled him. So, all that said, even though Nate is younger than Anderson, he's also smaller than Anderson, and quite a bit smaller than Jake Paul. And
how old is he, Dave?
As Michael Bisping quite astutely pointed out, that Nate got mad about. Nate Diaz got mad, but Bisping just pointing out, like, look, Nate is 5-5 at 170 pounds. When Nate moves up in weight, he doesn't knock anybody out. The only guy he ever knocked out at 170 was Rory Markham. And this isn't a fight that we're talking about at 170. We're talking about maybe 180, 190. Like, Jake Paul is a big guy. So Nate does not carry the power up a weight class. He does not carry the power up 2 weight classes, certainly. Nate was always most effective at 155 pounds. And that's been a critique of Jake Paul. Jake Paul goes after the smaller guys, Woodley, Askren, 170 fighters. This one I thought was a real test because you're fighting a guy who isn't a wrestler. Anderson Silva, a striker. Anderson Silva, roughly the same size, if not a little bit bigger.
A guy who's fought in boxing.
Sure.
I mean, a guy who's beat
and
Chavez.
Jake Paul looked good, looked as good as he needed to walk out of there as the winner. And I think against Nate Diaz, it'll be more of the same. I think Jake Paul won't necessarily finish Nate, but he will drop him. He will win the fight, and then he'll move on. So I don't know. I think
I agree with that, man. And that's why I'm saying I'm kind of surprised you're mentioning George, because George won't be any further in that category than Nate. I mean, George will walk around maybe going into that fight, maybe the heaviest at 190, which is, that's his walking weight around. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing,
right
though,
now,
AJ. Here's the thing. Here's the difference between George and Nate. There are several differences, but here's the main ones that I see. Georges St-Pierre, 170-pound world champion, greatest 170-pounder of all time in the UFC, right?
Absolutely.
Nate Diaz, not the greatest 155er even in the world. Never the world champion. Nate was like a 500 fighter. He was all right, but he wasn't like the champion. He had title shots, and he lost them soundly. Like, when he had his title shot, he didn't win. Like, he was clearly beat. So, Georges St-Pierre is just bigger and better than Nate Diaz at fighting. Like, he's just better. Georges St-Pierre was a world champion at 185 pounds. Yes, in boxing. In everything. If Georges St-Pierre fought Nate Diaz in a straight-up boxing match, you're taking Nate Diaz? I'm not. I'm taking Georges St-Pierre. And I'll tell you why. Georges St-Pierre is a winner. He knows how to win. He is a highly intelligent fighter. You want to talk about fight IQ? This guy is a fight genius.
I agree.
Okay? He is smart enough to figure out a way. He is athletic enough to still be effective. Now, I don't know that George will beat Jake Paul. I don't even know if I would pick George over Jake Paul. But I would tell you that I think he's got a better shot at beating him than Nate Diaz because of what I just outlined. Because he's bigger, because he's more of an athlete, and because he's one of the greatest mixed martial artists in the history of the game. And Nate Diaz is just one of the most famous. I love Nate Diaz. I'm a big fan of Nate and Nick and their whole crew and their whole attitude and their whole way of fighting. But to sit here and pretend that Georges St-Pierre and Nate Diaz are on the same level when it comes to martial arts is
but it's
wrong.
Not mixed martial arts, Dave.
It's not mixed martial arts, but it's martial arts, and boxing is a martial art, just like wrestling, just like whatever. And Georges St-Pierre and his history and his karate background and his training with Freddie Roach and his athleticism and his speed and his power and his size make him a bigger threat to Jake Paul than Nate Diaz is. A bigger threat.
I disagree, man. And I'm going to tell you, like, if I got to look at it, I love George. When it comes to the mixed martial art game, there's no one better than this legend. It doesn't matter if you're doing jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing in the octagon. But when you're coming into a ring, a boxing ring, Diaz has it. He's got more of the boxing credentials. He's got the boxing understanding. He doesn't have to worry about knees, takedowns, elbows, ring control. He just has to worry about boxing. And the difference is this. Between Diaz and George, Diaz can take a punishment. His jaw's not going to crack. And George, we all know, he's got a problem with his jaw. He doesn't like to get hit. Never did, never will. George does not like to get hit. And we saw that with Matt Serra. When he gets peppered, it's over. And I'm going to tell you this.
Come on.
I don't care. I don't care what you say, Dave. If I'm going to pick who could beat Jake Paul, it'll be Diaz over George. And I still don't think Diaz is going to be able to beat Jake Paul. And I can't believe that we're saying this in 2022, but I kind of sort of had my suspicion that Jake Paul is going to be a threat in that sport, man. And here we are today, man. You want Jake Paul to be legit, he has to fight a boxer. Now he's got to fight a boxer. Enough of the MMA game, because in MMA, at 47 years old, against Anderson Silva, he would probably last a round. That's it. We'll have to be honest about that. If it was an MMA fight, Anderson Silva would take out Jake Paul in one round. Hands down. Diaz would take down Jake Paul in one round. Georges St-Pierre would take care of Jake Paul in 30 seconds. All right? And that's the difference.
Well, just take him down, right? I mean, literally take him down to the mat. What is he in jiu-jitsu? A white belt? Like, I don't understand.
Ooh, Jake Paul?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what
has he done any jiu-jitsu in his life? Because if he hasn't,
Mark Zuckerberg has.
If Jake Paul hasn't done any jiu-jitsu and the fight goes to the mat, Nate or George or Anderson, they'll wrap him up in a minute. Like, it wouldn't take long.
Listen, we saw that a lot of times with, like, Tony against Randy Couture. It was like a nightmare. I mean, anything that could have been like a nightmare in that small amount of time was that fight. You know, Randy Couture, like, dissected that guy in every way possible and made you realize that boxing cannot go into an octagon, and sometimes an octagon can't go into boxing. The difference is that a lot of guys in the octagon do train boxing with high-level boxing coaches more and more today than they did 10 years ago. You know, when George started, like, a long time ago, like, you know, his boxing game wasn't as good as it was in the latter years of his career because he needed to up his boxing skills. Today's kids coming into the octagon are all pretty high-level boxers. They can switch back and forth no problem. The difference is that Jake Paul is just boxing. You can forget about him coming into MMA. That will not happen. I don't see that happening unless it's some kind of celebrity fight with, like, you know, some guy who's maybe like 4 feet tall, maybe. But other than that, in the boxing ring, he's a threat. And the threat is this. For him to become legitimate, he has to fight a legitimate boxer. And that has to come up soon. Right now, he's at a point that even if he loses to a legitimate boxer, he's still going to be 6-1.
I'll skip that, though. I don't want to see him fight a legitimate boxer because good luck finding a guy who's a boxer with a big enough name for people to watch.
Listen, man, Tommy Fury was there. And you know what?
I wouldn't have watched it.
I would have watched it because, you know what? And the boxing world would have watched it. But listen, the boxing world would have watched it because they want to see Tommy beat Jake Paul. I don't think Tommy has it in him to beat Jake Paul at this point, you know, but they need somebody.
I don't care about Tommy Fury.
They can't bring in, like, Canelo. Canelo's too small for Jake Paul.
Do it.
You know what I mean? You got to
do it. He's scared, too. Listen, Canelo. You're scared.
Listen, bring in an Anthony Joshua. Bring in one of those guys. Then we're talking, man. You know, come to some weight category for those guys. They're close enough. You know what? Impress me. Fight AJ. And then, you know what? If you could beat AJ at his game, I'll be impressed. And I'll be impressed if he's going to fight Anthony Joshua. For sure.
I thought you wanted them to fight you, AJ.
No. I mean, I would for like $6.5 million, dude. Like, our show would be, we could get all new equipment. Listen, man, put me in there, man. Remember what I told you? I'll do anything for the ratings, which I've done before. I've done because I'm crazy shit, just so we get ratings on this show. So why would I say no to, like, 7 figures? It's going to happen. But
I'd do anything for $6.5 million, I think. I mean.
Would you? Well, there you go. The offer is there.
Pretty much anything, I'd say.
Listen.
I don't know what anything. I don't know. I'd go pretty far for $6.5 million. I don't know. I could buy a lot of cool shit with that.
Listen, dude, I'll put out the offer for you. No
Wouldn't
problem.
buy any more new shoes, though. I'll tell you that much. I quit buying shoes now. I don't know what to do.
With the easy stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I think they're going to be, like, valuable, those things. I think, like, you know, in about 6 months, we're going to forget about all that shit. And Easy and what's his name is going to be back. You know, listen, man.
It's just weird for me. Like, okay, I don't want to talk about Kanye and anti-Semitism and Kyrie Irving and everything because it honestly is disturbing that it's popping up so much. And like I read the comments of a Kyrie Irving video and the people that are agreeing with him about all the shit that's going on.
I don't know anything about that. So like,
yeah, well, he linked a pretty
what? Tell me, man. I don't know
like
anything.
an anti-Semitic movie with some pretty weird themes and some Holocaust denying type of stuff going on in there. And it's unsettling. Quite honestly, it's unsettling right now. The climate of anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish rhetoric. As a Jewish person, it is very disturbing to me to see that type of talk online. And I'm seeing just honestly, like whatever, one celebrity, this celebrity saying weird shit, you know, people off their meds, whatever. But when I'm seeing the comments, you know, of so many people agreeing with these types of sentiments, it really disturbs me. It makes me wonder, like, what the hell is actually going on in this world? And then we have a guy like Elon Musk who seems to be parroting some of these views and agreeing with some of this stuff and allowing now he owns Twitter and he's allowing this stuff to kind of go on in this public forum. It feels to me dangerous. It really does. I'm not comfortable right now with what's going on. And I'm not so much worried about me, but more about my kids and about, you know, what kind of world they're growing up in right now.
It's fucked up, man.
Yeah, no, it pisses me off, quite honestly. And if I have to do something violent against somebody to retaliate, I will, to defend my family and my people. I think it's fucked up. Anyways.
That's it, David. Listen.
Yeah. I don't know
what that's all about. I'm going to look into it. But yeah, listen, man, there's a lot of disturbing people out there, man. And the more money you have, the more fucked up you become at times. There's no doubt about it. But
I just think people need to get over this whole idea of race and ethnic identity and stuff.
It's the human race, man.
It's all a construct. It's all about who you fuck. And that's how races disappear. And that's how genetics kind of change. And like, it just... I just look at myself, you know, and I know that like things could disappear. Like whoever is Jewish or black or Italian or whatever you may be.
We're all one, man. We're all one.
We're all people, and in a few generations, whatever racial identity you have can completely disappear and be something else. Like I just look at myself, you know, my great-grandmother was a Vietnamese woman who lived in Vietnam her whole life, right? And her great-grandson is me. You know what I mean? Like, she had a son, and that guy was half French and half Vietnamese, and then he came to Quebec, and he met a French-Canadian woman, and they had my mom, and then my mom met a Jewish guy, and they had me, you know, a Jewish guy from Montreal, you know? Like, she was a French Canadian, and then here comes me, and I meet English, Scottish, Irish, white girl, blonde girl from Montreal, and we have kids, and now they're little blonde kids, and I just see that, like, if my great-grandmother was able to see her great-great-grandchildren, she would recognize. You know what I mean? She'd recognize, like, well, I'm a Vietnamese woman, and I'm here living in this time, but look at my great-great-grandchildren. They're little white blonde kids. So race is just a construct of who you fuck. You know, it's like who you're fucking and who you procreate with, and that's what they'll become. So, you know, in, like, 3 generations, my... children could all be Italian somehow. I don't really know how that would work, but they could all move to Italy and live in Italy for generations, and then all of a sudden my family is like, it doesn't. I think people get too hung up on the idea of like, I am this and this is who my parents were, and it's like, no, well, if you go back in generations, like, you're different things, and different things kind of change, and a lot of racial groups do kind of stick together and make kids of the same sort, right? Like, your parents are both Italian, you know, and they made you, and you're an Italian guy, and that happens, and that's fine, you know, but I just think that people are kind of dividing themselves way too much, and if I look at my own family history, I realize, like, it's all it's all bullshit. Race and identity and all of that stuff. You know, and people, I've grown up my whole life, people will be like, well, what are you? Where are you from? You know, you look, and it's like, I'm a Canadian guy from Canada.
Just
you know, and that's really
Canadian
as far as I want to take it. I'm a guy from here. I'm from around here. That's why they call me local. You know? What's the problem? Local.
Yes, what are you talking about?
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I don't know. It's just all very disturbing, and I just wish people would get over the whole race thing, because the faster we get over race and trying to separate ourselves by I'm this and you're that and da-da-da, the faster we get over that, the better we can be as a complete human race, and we can kind of erase a lot of the pain and the suffering and maybe make the planet a better thing. But people are fucking idiots, so that'll never happen, right? People are just too hung up on their dumb ideas and their racism and their bullshit, so that'll never happen. I don't have a ton of faith in humanity. I just wish they would get it together.
Hear ye, Dave. Bravo. Listen, vote for Dave Simon as president, AJ as vice president, man, for the Ringside Report
You would
Universe.
not be my vice president.
And I'm going to tell you, as
You
vice
would
president,
be my
I
last
agree with
choice
Dave,
for vice president.
you know, and it's gonna be crazy, man. The shit I'm gonna do is gonna be insane. But I agree with everything Dave said there.
President of what?
Well, some president of like the Ringside Report Universe, man.
I already
wants
am.
to be president.
You're not the vice president.
Well, I feel like it sometimes.
I'm the president of the Ringside Report Universe, and the vice president is Johnny North, I think.
No, it can't be.
I think it is.
Okay, well, Johnny deserves it anyways. But listen, I agree. Listen, I agree with you. Like
It's
on
based
everything
on
you
muscle
said.
tone, AJ. It's based on muscle
my
tone.
muscle tone is pretty good. But I'm going to tell you something.
You saw John with his shirt off though the other day.
Yeah, he looks good. He looks fantastic, man. And just to let you know, before we got to that fight, we were trying to figure out where the auditorium was, and I look up in a window and I see this guy that's naked in the window, literally. And I'm like, "Hey, Dave,
he wasn't
that's
naked
Johnny over there." Well, he looked naked. There was a guy with no shirt hanging out at the window, just walking back and forth. And I'm like, "Man, that big guy looks like Johnny," and it turned out to be Johnny. So it's just weird how this shit happens. All to say is, Dave, I agree with what you said. You're absolutely right, man. You know, the human race, man, we are one. We are one.
Yeah.
We all bleed red. And you know what? You're absolutely right. In 100 years from now, the melting pot is going to get deeper and deeper.
Well, that's it.
And
whatever you think you are, your children and their children will not be.
That's right, man.
Stop getting hung up on it, because it's bullshit. It's not real. It's an illusion.
Except there's an exception. World Cup. That's the only exception, and that's where I go for Team Italy. I'm sorry, Dave. That's
Even
it.
then.
Other than that, you're right.
Aren't they? Didn't they not qualify?
Yeah, man. But it doesn't matter. They won the Euro, Dave. Let's not go there.
How do you win the Euro and then not qualify for the World Cup like 2 years later? How does that happen?
It's such crazy bullshit. It doesn't make sense when you're a team that broke a record with the most consecutive like international wins, and then you still don't make the World Cup. It's fucked up. And what's killing me now is that coming up this month we are going into World Cup, so we're going to be watching Ringside Report, UFC, WWE, and we're going to be watching.
Aren't the games really early in the morning though?
Listen, but this guy AJ, you know what he's doing. He's
when
going to be
up.
When
are the games on? Are they at like 3 a.m. or something? When did the games start?
They're at different times, but it's super early in the morning. So basically, I'm going to be having breakfast and watching like soccer. You know, I'm sure Noah's going to be up. I mean, we're all going to be watching it. And you know, listen, I'm rooting for one particular team.
France.
I like France. But I'm. People might get mad. I mean, I like a lot of the teams that are out there, but I want to see one guy in particular win the World Cup.
Canada.
One guy. No, man. I want to see one guy. Yeah, they're in it. So is the United States. Canada's
in it, and Italy isn't. What the hell happened?
Listen, that shit's happened, man. Like, I know.
What a world.
But it's in Abu Dhabi. But I'm going to tell you something, Dave. There's one guy I want to see hold the World Cup because I think he's the greatest player in the world, probably the greatest player ever, above. Listen, man.
Ronaldo?
Yes, sir. So
you want Portugal to win?
Yep.
Okay.
I like Brazil. I like France. I like England. I like Canada. But I want to see Ronaldo win a World Cup, man. I like Argentina, too. Don't get me wrong. I love Messi. But I'm more of a Ronaldo guy.
I'm not feeling World Cuppy. I don't know. I feel like the November World Cup, it's like, nah. I'm not feeling it this time.
Now, man. You're right. It's got to be in the summer when you're out.
Summer's better.
Sure, man. You could go out and dance and, have a good time. In November, what are you going to do, man?
You know who won the last World Cup, eh?
Nah. It might not happen this time, Dave.
Les Bleus.
I know. Les Bleus. But all to say is this. All to say is this, man.
They made it look easy. It was an easy World Cup.
Well, it wasn't that. It wasn't that easy, man. They had they didn't look so good. No, they didn't. They looked like shit in the first part of the World Cup.
They always look like shit in the group stages, and then they pull it together.
Yeah, they didn't. You know what? At one point, I didn't think they were going to make it out. Yeah. Like, they didn't do too well, but, shit happens.
I don't think they're going to do so good. Based on what Fred tells me, they're not going to do so good this time. So
yeah, they're missing some key players and whatnot.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Missing key players, 3 a.m. games, November World Cup. I don't know if I'm going to be watching it, to be honest. If France isn't good and it's in this weird place, and I don't know. I'm not into it.
Listen, man, either or, we're still going to watch it at some point.
No, and, I just said I don't think I'm going to.
I know you will, but I know it's going to happen. You're going to be up, and you're going to be like, fuck this. Fuck AJ. I'm not going to tell him that I'm up, but I'm going to catch you watching a game of France.
If the games are in the early morning, I'm up pretty early in the morning, like 5:30, 6 a.m. So if the games are then, I might watch them. If France is playing and I'm awake, yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, like I want to watch Ronaldo, man. I want to see Ronaldo do it this time, man.
But sometimes in the World Cup, like, I'll watch games that are not France. I'll watch other teams play. I don't know if I'll do that this year. I'm not so into it.
Like, I don't think you're going to go out of your way to see Canada.
No, I don't think I'm going to watch Canada. I don't care about Canada. They're not going to win.
I'll probably watch it. You never know, dude. Anything's possible, man. It's like Greece when they won the Euro Cup way back. I mean, these guys were the biggest long shot to win the Euro, and they did it. And they in fact they actually played Portugal in the first game and lost, and then they played Portugal again in the final. You think they were going to win it? That was Portugal's time to win the Euro, and they lost to Greece. And the amount, return on investment, if you were able to put your money on Greece back before the Euro, the money that you could have made was ridiculous. I think it was like, I don't want to say, I think getting close to it was like around like 5,000% odds. It was like ridiculous. Crazy.
Okay.
And but if you did it prior to that, years before, it was even a greater payoff because for Greece to win that against some super teams that were there, including Italy, Germany, Portugal, and the rest, man, you got to give it to Greece.
Got to give it to them. There you go, the AJ catchphrase. Got to give it to Greece. I will watch Canada play if they make it out of group stages. How about that? If they can make it out of the group stage, if they're in elimination games, then I'll watch it to see how far they go because it's the first World Cup. It is the first World Cup I've ever seen and possibly the first World Cup of my lifetime that Canada's been involved in.
Yeah, not mine. But
right? Not yours, but mine, right? Is that true? When's the last time Canada made the World Cup?
It was in the U.S. World Cup. They were host country between the U.S. and Canada, so they had a bye. U.S. had a bye and Canada had a bye. That was 1991, somewhere
I don't know.
around
According
there.
to this, the last time Canada was at the World Cup was in 1986.
Yeah, 86. Then it was in the U.S., right? It was that time. Jesus, that went way back.
1986 was in Mexico.
Well, yeah, it was U.S.
They did not qualify for the 1994 U.S. World Cup. They were not in it.
Oh, they weren't? Okay, so
no.
I fucked up. So it was 86.
Yes,
all right.
86.
Either
okay, so technically, second time in my lifetime that Canada's been in the World Cup because I was born in 85. So at 86, I was technically
you don't remember
born.
That?
Well, no, I don't remember that. Not at all. You do, though?
Unlike AJ.
I like that you remember the year 1986. That's fantastic to me. That's great. It's just funny to me that you remember the year, like you have a recollection of what you were doing at that time, and I was like trying to figure out how to eat,
Listen, Madonna was hot. Boy George was hanging around. Michael Jackson was kicking it.
Yeah. Cool.
The Canadians won the Stanley Cup.
I was a baby.
Think about it.
UFC Vegas, Rodriguez versus Lemos coming up.
Wow. What a
hell of a fight. Women's strawweight fight here in the main event, UFC Vegas this Saturday. Next weekend, baby, we got some good UFC. It's UFC 281. Yeah. It's the watch along. It's live. UFC 281, Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. That is next Saturday night live from New York City, New York, Madison Square Garden. Adesanya defending the UFC middleweight championship against his longtime rival, a man who beat him in kickboxing, who's back to get more from Israel Adesanya, including that middleweight championship. It's going to be a great fight. Pereira is looking amazing. Is he good enough to beat Adesanya? Carla Esparza defending her women's strawweight championship against Zhang Weili, the former champion. Dustin Poirier takes on Michael Chandler. Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. And that's just the pay-per-view. The prelims have Brad Riddell versus Renato Moicano. Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann. Molly the Meatball McCann versus Aaron Blanchfield. Andre Petrovsky versus Wellington Turman. I mean, this is a great card top to bottom. And this main card as well. Hooker versus Puelles. Edgar. Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. Carla Esparza, Zhang Weili, and Israel Adesanya. Alex Pereira. UFC 281 from Madison Square Garden is next Saturday night. And I am pumped, if you can't tell. I am pumped for this one. That main event, Pereira and Adesanya, I don't know about that. A lot of people going with Pereira.
Man, Pereira's already beat him twice. I mean, you know, if you have to look at, like, statistically,
it's crazy.
He has the edge. And the thing is that he's not afraid to fight Adesanya. He's already encountered him twice and beat him. That's the difference when you're fighting a champion. If you've never encountered a champion, there's always that intimidation factor, regardless of who you are. You're going into a fight knowing that you got to beat the king. The thing is that this guy is going into this fight knowing who the king is and knowing that he's beat him twice. There's no fear factor there. He understands him on the stand-up Muay Thai game. The only difference here is that, you know, is the ground game going to be the solution for, you know, Israel to win?
That's it. It should be.
Maybe. It should be.
But
the thing is that Pereira is pretty well versed in the ground game as well. I just don't think they're going to get down to the ground. I think if they do get to the ground, they're going to get up right away. And I think Pereira's going to push that pace. I mean, they even made a video game. Like, it was so funny. I was watching this thing where the video game, like, kind of like with Pereira put out, show that Pereira just beats Israel, like, if you want to look at it from a virtual fighting perspective. But the thing is that, man, getting into this fight is going to be insane, man. We're going to talk about it next week in more detail. But,
we'll get to it next week, but it's crazy.
It's hard for me right now, and I love Israel. Israel is the best out there. But the thing is that he's coming up against a guy who will not be intimidated by him. Chances are, if you beat a guy twice, you should be able to probably open him up a third time, especially when you have a lot more experience in the game. The conditioning is there, you know, and you know the guy. You've already read the guy. You've already danced with his pick.
Give me a quick pick. You got Pereira, right? You're going with Pereira? I'm going with Adesanya.
I'm going with the hype. Listen, I'm going with the hype, but I'm also going with the fact. I do like the hype, Dave, but the thing is that it's that 2-0 that bothers me, and I think that 2-0 is enough for this guy not to be intimidated. In fact, he wants to prove something. There's going to be a lot of like trash talk in the next week. Israel's going to trash talk him, and Pereira's going to be like, "Listen, shut your mouth. You're 2-0." Israel's going to tell him, "Yeah, but that's not in the octagon." But you know the fighting game. The fighting game is the fighting game. If it's not boxing, and you're in a kickboxing match or a Muay Thai match, you've got everything going for you except for the grappling game. That's the problem. Okay. I mean, you know, Israel
we'll get to it next week, AJ. We'll get to it next week. We're running out of time here. I want to get to the fights this weekend, okay? Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Lemos in the main event. Marina Rodriguez, in my opinion, is the strawweight champion of the world. She's the uncrowned champion. She just hasn't got the belt. She is 16-1 as a professional. That one is a split decision loss to Carla Esparza, the current champion, back in 2020. She did not lose that fight. Rodriguez won that fight. The judges, 2 out of the 3 judges gave it to Esparza. I disagreed with the result. Go back and watch the fight. I think you would too. Marina Rodriguez is the best 115-pounder in the world today. Amanda Lemos is right up there with her, but I don't think she is enough. I don't think she's got enough to stand and trade. I don't think she's got enough on the ground. I just think that Marina Rodriguez is a better fighter than Lemos. Both at the top of the game, both top 5 in the division, no doubt. But I just think that Marina Rodriguez is a cut above. I think she's the uncrowned champ. I think she's going to get the next title shot, and I think she's going to possibly win. I think that Esparza probably falls to Zhang Weili, and then when we see Zhang Weili against Marina Rodriguez, look out. That's going to be a war. So I've got Marina Rodriguez right now. She is coming in as the Bet99.com favorite. Rodriguez, minus 234. And Lemos is plus 183, the underdog. I agree with those odds. I'm going heavy on Marina Rodriguez.
Listen, Dave, I agree with you. I mean, if you look at Rodriguez, I mean, she's a specialist in jiu-jitsu, grappling, Muay Thai. I mean, the only thing that she doesn't impress me is she doesn't have much power in her punches. Other than that, man, she has the capability to win. She's not going to come out with a KO on Amanda. The thing with Amanda is she's fought twice in 2022. She's lost by choke by Jessica Andrade. She beat Michelle Waterson. To me, I love Michelle Waterson in the early days, but she's not like an impressive win. You know what I'm saying? Michelle Waterson, she lost that kind of like air in the flag kind of thing. Not an impressive win. But I agree with you. I think Rodriguez is going to win this. I don't think she's going to knock her out. I think it's going to go to the distance, and she's going to win by decision.
I agree with that as well. I think it'll be a decision. Co-main event, you got Neil Magny against Daniel Rodriguez. Magny coming off a loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov. Rodriguez just fought in September at UFC 279. I don't know if you remember, but he was supposed to fight... Who was he supposed to fight? Was it...
No, it was supposed to be against Neil Magny. Then he got staffed, so the fight got canceled. So they're refighting this. So that's the thing with Rodriguez.
No.
He got staffed. Isn't that the fight?
Nah. Wasn't Rodriguez supposed to fight Tony Ferguson? Or was Li Jingliang supposed to fight Tony Ferguson? Rodriguez was supposed to fight Kevin Holland, I think. Remember when the UFC 279 card got reshuffled? It was supposed to be Nate versus Khamzat, but it got shuffled to Nate versus Tony. Tony was supposed to fight Li Jingliang. Li Jingliang wound up fighting Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland was supposed to fight Daniel Rodriguez, wound up fighting Khamzat Chimaev. You remember that? That's what happened.
Yeah, it was a whole mess.
Yes,
but I remember
but
that
Rodriguez was part of that mess, and he had a war with Li Jingliang that he won by split decision. But it was a 3-round fight, and it was only on September 10th. We're sitting here November 3rd, and he's going to be fighting on the 5th of November this coming Saturday. So he is wasting no time at all, getting right back into it. And this guy loves the fire. He is a guy that brawls, that brings the fire, that brings the heavy hands. I like D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. I'm a fan. Neil Magny coming off a loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov back in June. Nobody's beaten Shavkat. I mean,
nobody.
Yeah, but Shavkat is another deal. 28 years old, and he's the Khamzat that nobody's talking about. Like, he's Khamzat without the trash talk, and one day Khamzat and Shavkat will probably fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if Shavkat won. So,
yeah, he's a crazy fighter. Yeah.
Yes, but I feel like Magny is not in the prime of his career anymore. And Rodriguez is coming up, and he's on a win streak, and he's looking good, and he's a hot fighter, and he fought a couple months ago. Plus 100, Daniel Rodriguez. I like that. I'm going to go with Rodriguez as the underdog. I think he takes it to Magny and maybe finishes him. I could see a knockout win for Daniel Rodriguez here over Neil Magny. Rodriguez hits hard.
Yeah, and that's what he needs to beat Neil on. I mean, they're both 35 years old. I mean, there's no age opportunity. They're both 35. The difference is that Neil Magny is the taller fighter, has a longer reach. He has everything to beat Rodriguez. The thing is that Rodriguez, every time I see this guy fight, I'm like, holy shit, I'm impressed. He can take a beating and he can deliver a beating. And I'm on the same page with you. I think the underdog is going to win on this. And I think he's going to knock him out. And you know what? The thing with Neil Magny, every once in a while, he surprises us, and we're like, oh, man, I can't believe we didn't go with Neil. But this is going to be a tough one for him. I think he's going to have a hard fight ahead. And Daniel Rodriguez, man, this guy is something as well. He's a dangerous fighter.
I'm going to give you my parlay here. I'm ready to go. I've got a 5-fight parlay that's going to cash in big time for you. If it does win, we're going to make a lot of money here on Saturday night. I got a lot of underdogs on this card, and here we go. We're going to start off with the favorite in the main event, though, Marina Rodriguez, minus 234. This is the Team Dave parlay over at bet99.com. Use that promo code Ringside when you sign up. Marina Rodriguez, minus 234. Then I've got Daniel Rodriguez. See, Marina, Brazilian, it's Rodriguez. Daniel, American, Rodriguez. Same last name. Different pronunciation. So I'm going with Marina. I'm going with Daniel plus 100. I'm going with Josh Parisian plus 108 over Chase Sherman. I think Parisian hits a little harder and is a little bit more durable than Chase Sherman. I've got Parisian as a slight underdog here. Also, continuing the underdogs, I'm going with Nate Maness over Tagir Ulanbekov. I think people are giving Tagir too much respect here, plus 183, Nate Maness. I think he is undervalued in that fight as well. And I'm rounding it off with the first fight on the main card, Mark Madsen at plus 166. I'm going with the Olympic silver medal Greco-Roman wrestler, undefeated in mixed martial arts, Mark Madsen over Grant Dawson. Little bit surprised that Dawson is the favorite, but I could see he's more active and stuff. But Dawson, if you look at his record, the majority of his fights are won by submission. I think he's going to have a really hard time submitting a silver medal Greco Olympian. I think that the grappling game will not be in the favor of Grant Dawson. It will be in the favor of Mark Madsen, and Mark Madsen will get some takedowns that he needs to win the fight. So I'm going to go with the plus 166 Mark Madsen. $20 over at Bet99 gets you $944.52. That is a pretty massive payout for the Team Dave 5-fight parlay. I mean, I know it's a long shot. Looking at these odds, it's a long shot, but when I was researching this card, these are the fights that jumped out at me. These are the fights that I picked. So you could take them all in a parlay and see what you get, or you could take a few of them in an individual bet. Just bet on them one-on-one, and you might cash in here on a few of them because I'm giving you a lot of underdogs on this UFC Vegas card this weekend. $20 gets you $944.52 at Bet99. Once again, the Team Dave parlay: Madsen, Maness, Parisian, Rodriguez, and Rodriguez. Tricky. AJ, what do you got for me?
That's a good one, man. So I'm gonna start off with you. I'm gonna go with Rodriguez for the win here. I think by decision. I'm gonna go with Daniel Rodriguez for the win as an underdog. I think he'll outmuscle Neil. Then I'm gonna go with Josh Parisian as well.
There we go.
Over Chase Sherman, but I'm gonna have to go with like former world champion Tagir, Dagestanian beast. I don't mess around with the Dagestanians. He had a rough ride with his last fight, but that's not going to happen again. I think Tagir is going to beat Nathan. And then
he lost to Tim Elliott and got schooled by Tim Elliott. And Tim Elliott is good, but he's 18-12 as a pro.
I know, man. You know what? Sometimes you just have a
35
bad
years old, 18-12. Tagir, I think, is getting a lot of hype 31. Because of where he's from.
No, man. I just think it's going to be a different fight. I think the Dagestanian wrestling is going to take over. Nathan has a longer reach. He's going to try to go for the stand-up game. I think he's going to get out-wrestled and pretty much like top pressured like we've seen in the last little while with all the Dagestanian wrestlers. everybody makes a mistake. I think it's not going to happen this time for Taguir.
Okay.
So I'm going with Taguir. Then I'm going to go the opposite with you. I'm not going to go with Mark Madsen. The guy's phenomenal Greco-Roman wrestler, but Grant Dawson will submit him. That'll be his first loss right there. Grant Dawson is taking that fight.
Okay. AJ going with an underdog or two and a few favorites here. It's a 5-fight main card parlay for AJ too. AJ going with Rodriguez, Parisian, Ulembekov, and Dawson. $20 will get you $267.24. I mean, that's a pretty good payout.
That's a nice payoff. Good. Yep.
Not as good as Team Dave,
yours
but
is, no, yours is a good payoff, but yet a little bit more risque than mine.
Of course, that's why the payoff is there.
That's why sometimes you got to do it. I know Pat's listening to you, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to put $20, but
I'm going to put a few bucks on that Team Dave parlay. I'll tell you, because I believe in it. That's why I'm giving it to you. Grant Dawson, Ulembekov, Parisian, Rodriguez, and Rodriguez is the Team AJ parlay for this week. Last week,
and listen, man,
we gave you
Jake Paul win, man.
Yeah, but there was a UFC too.
Yeah. I don't know how. I think I lost on one fight.
I think you lost on a few. Arnold Allen, we had over Calvin Kattar. We had that one.
Yeah.
I gave you Waldo Cortez Acosta. He was my big pick of the night. He won. But I had Fremd over Gore, and Gore picked up a win, so I was wrong on that one.
Yes, that's where I was wrong as well.
You had Dustin Jacoby over Khalil Roundtree, and Jacoby lost. Yeah.
But you even called it. You said that was like a big, like...
Yeah, judges screwed that one. And I also gave you underdog pick last week, Dolidze over Haas, and that came through as well. So I gave you a few picks. My parlay didn't come through, but a few underdog picks that I did give you one, and I'm giving you a bunch of dogs this weekend. So hopefully we cash in, you cash in, I cash in, everybody wins here on the Ringside Report Network. I want to thank Patrick C. Hamilton. By the way, you are the Super Chat leader of the night. Thank you, Patrick.
Oh,
thank you to Silent by Deadly as well for supporting the channel here tonight. I will be back here tomorrow night with Johnny North to preview WWE's Crown Jewel. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right after SmackDown. Johnny and I will be here talking everything professional wrestling, AEW, WWE. AEW sending a clear message to CM Punk this week on Dynamite. You are gone, my friend. We don't want you here anymore. Be gone. We've got Colt Cabana, and it looks like the CM Punk era in AEW is officially over. Should the WWE bring him in? We'll talk about that, and we'll preview WWE's Crown Jewel coming up on Saturday afternoon from Saudi Arabia. Jake's brother Logan Paul taking on Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal World Championship in the main event. The Tribal Chief will put a beatdown on one of the Paul brothers. At least the Tribal Chief will win one.
I think he's going to win, man. I'm telling you, and I said it on Saturday or Sunday as well. The Paul brothers are going to be champions of the world. We're going to go into 2023 as the new WWE champion, Logan Paul. And right now, the boxing champion of the world, Jake Paul, man.
He's not the boxing champion of the world. He's not the boxing champion of anything.
In his world right now, he's making more money than all of them. So he's technically the most recognized boxer in the world right now, other than Tyson Fury. Just
Logan Paul will fall to the Tribal Chief because the Paul brothers are the twos and we the ones. Tremendous.
I don't know about that. Hey, listen, I was just going to say quickly.
What?
I think he's going to lose, Dave. No, I was just going to give a you already jumped into it, but I was going to end with like some of the releases from the UFC, which a few of our Canadian guys are not going to be there anymore. And one of our guys, I don't know if you know that Askar Askarov has been released. Misha Serkinov is gone, so goodbye to our Canadian. And Jesse Ronson, man, has been released as well. And Jotko as well. Jotko's gone. Like, you know, so like it's a changing of the guards, man. There's so many guys that are out there. Like, you know, the names. Guards?
Guard.
Changing of the guards. There's more than one there, Dave. Anyways, all to say is this. You got the Shamcats and all the rest of these guys that are there, man. That's the difference. There's so many new guys coming. It's ridiculous. But anyways, Misha, I liked him in the UFC. Jesse, man, he did so much. But, like, it's unfortunate. But, we'll see them again at some other circuit. What is that? Guard mounting. Are you talking jiu-jitsu here, bud?
Changing of the guard, singular.
No. Oh, okay. Changing of the guards.
No. The changing of the guard ceremony marks the moment when the soldiers currently on duty, the old guard, exchange places with the new guard. They're not guards.
Where are you getting that info from? Where's the source?
Google. It's like...
Yeah, Google.
Google changing of the guard. If you Google changing of the guard, you will never get is the changing of the guard every day. The changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace is the ceremony where the king's guard hands over. Like, it's not changing of the guards. It's changing of the guard. And you didn't believe me, but I just proved it to you. And again, this is the problem with your comprehension of the internet. Even if I give you people like you, AJ, even if you get 10 clear facts that are true and obvious to most people, you're still like, I don't buy it. I don't know. I heard Alex Jones say it's guard, so I'm going to go with what I heard from my sources and my feeds and my bullshit and my babies and the blood and the nonsense and the cults and the sacrifices and the stupid shit. Changing of the guard.
Whatever. Potato. Or potatoes.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen, let's not forget.
I'll be back tomorrow night with Johnny, 10 p.m., and then Saturday afternoon, right after Crown Jewel, to recap and review WWE's Crown Jewel going down this Saturday afternoon. It starts at noon, and I think we'll be on around 4 o'clock-ish on Saturday afternoon to review the whole thing. So a big weekend in pro wrestling coming up tomorrow night and Saturday afternoon. And then AJ and Freddie and I will be back next Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, for Ringside Report MMA, where we will preview UFC 281, and then we'll do the watch-along for that next Saturday night. Thank you to Patrick C. Hamilton. You're the Super Chat leader of the night. And thank you to you. This has been Ringside Report MMA on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.